everybody, welcome. This is HBCU, and this is the Spotlight Hour. Hey, if you're tuning in, we want to also give a shout out to our sponsor.
Today's show is sponsored by Swift Pro for all your marketing needs. Want to be a sponsor? It's simple. Just email us for more info. Now back to the show.
Hey, listen, everybody, is tuning in today. We have a special guest, a special guest. Listen, the CEO of the African Women in STEM program, 20 plus years as an engineer, and also she empowers African women globally by providing resources and also supportive community restitution. So listen, we want to welcome. We're going to say this slowly. Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya. I might have missed me. We'll start again. Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya. No? We'll have her pronounce it again. Well, welcome.
We'll have her. Yeah.
We'll have her correct her name. Listen, if you are watching, we'll have her correct her name right now.
All right. So my name is Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya.
Welcome.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you on, and I, when I read so many things about you, about your bio and how STEM plays a major part in what it is that you do, and how you're doing it globally. This is not just a local movement, and you've been able to touch people from all walks of life. And so we really want to dive into this because, now there's STEM. We hear about this, and we heard about STEM, but I want to hear STEM, and I want to hear your passion and your definition of what it means to you.
All right. So for those that don't know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And I strongly believe that STEM powers the world. It makes the world go round. From when you wake up in the morning, you switch on your lights, you have your alarm clock, you have your phones, you drive on the roads, everything. And that's part of the reason why I decided to do this as a kid, because I just wanted to create things. I was a very curious kid, and I just wanted to create things. I wanted to create things and make them come to life, which is particularly why I chose engineering, because you can also do sciences and do the research and come up with theories and things like that. But I also wanted to be able to build those things and watch them, help people live better lives. So for me, STEM is about helping people live better lives every day.
Wow.
Wow.
One of the questions I wanted to, your company, African Women in STEM, can you please explain to our audience what that is, what that means, and what that does?
All right. So African Women in STEM is an organization that was founded to empower women to take ownership of their careers, which is really critical. And, we do that through programs that we offer, mentorship. We have a very strong community that supports people. But the most important thing is that they have to be able to take ownership of their career so they can maximize their potential and succeed. And this came from my experience as a woman in STEM, as a woman of color in STEM, as a Black woman in STEM, as an African woman in STEM. And, even practicing STEM in my country, Nigeria, and then moving here, going to grad school and working in the industry here as well. It's very rare to find women in most STEM fields. And it's also really rare to find Black women there. So growing up, in my career, learning, because I'm a very curious person. So I would just kind of picked up all the information. And my goal was to succeed, to be the best at what I wanted to be. And as I got to senior levels, the career, landscape kind of changed. So it wasn't so much about how much you can do, how smart you are, what you can deliver. Yeah. Now, whether you like it or not, you have to deal with the corporate culture and politics and all of those things. And I did not prepare for that. They don't teach you that in school. Your friends don't even tell you that.
Yeah, they don't teach you.
Yeah, they don't. And then I look around, and again, there's nobody. There's nobody like me that I can talk to and ask, how am I supposed to navigate this? How do I navigate this? How do I get to the other side?
Yeah. Yeah.
And even when I find someone, more often than not, they're either in the same position as me, struggling as a woman in STEM, or they just decided that because they've gotten to this position, they don't want to rock the boat. So they're just going to isolate themselves from anybody else and not offer the help that other people need.
Wow.
So I decided that if I can get help from other people, I want to be that person to make sure that nobody else has to go through what I went through, because it was really hard.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So now you have your own sort of brand of STEM that you sort of offer to the community. Where did this start for you?
Oh, I don't know. I want to say I do things differently, but again, I just realized that I do things differently. It's just a matter of the fact is that people are different. Everybody has their own unique way that they express the same thing. So in my career, one thing I struggled with was the whole idea that I had to be a certain way to do things a certain way. I mean, there were all these parts of me that I could not express in my work. And not that I didn't try, but it was always like, oh, no, we don't do things this way. No. And then a bunch of times the people don't want to take you seriously because if you're an engineer, you have to be this way.
Yeah.
But again, hindsight is 2020, realizing at some point that this wasn't sustainable, it just wasn't going to work. And luckily for me, I had family and people that really cared about me that helped me realize that you're changing. There's something going on here.
And I want to ask you a question about, you said earlier about people not looking like you. You can't relate to them, talking to them. And did you find racism to be a part of your job experience, going through the corporate side?
The interesting thing is that I don't think I fully understood the concept of racism until pretty much like 2020.
Wow.
To be honest. Because again, I grew up in Nigeria, right? So the things that happened to me at work, I just thought, okay, there was something that I just wasn't doing right. I have to figure out because maybe they don't quite understand me. They don't quite know. And it was something that I could fix.
Wow.
And then it wasn't until, the thing with George Floyd happened and being a mom and looking at my son at the time and realizing that, oh my goodness, he's a little 5-year-old, but one day he's going to be this dangerous Black boy.
Yeah.
Just for no other reason than the color of his skin. And then it was overwhelming to me.
It's funny you said it because I had a buddy from Nigeria and he experienced the same thing. He didn't realize it because growing up, it's all blacks. In Nigeria, it's all black.
Yeah.
So everybody in science, your doctors, your fire, policemen, everybody's black. Your government. And then coming to America was a cultural shock for him. It took him years to get over that. And he was very intelligent, but he just couldn't understand, and I had to tell him, you can't do that. You can't do this.
Yeah.
And, it's different.
Yeah, it is different. It is different. And, especially not growing up here, being part of this culture, and then you come in and you're expected to understand 400 or 500 years of all of that.
Yeah.
First of all, again, you don't understand, and then the day it dawns on you, it's a lot, all at the same time.
Yeah.
And now I have to start learning how to have certain conversations with my children, and it's painful as a parent to think that.
Yes.
Especially when you never had to think about that until you're,
John, me and John had a conversation. I mean, just recently about about that and trying to bridge the gap. And I would love to go to Africa. I would love to
no doubt,
Nigeria, and teach them the skills that I have and take it there.
Yes.
I'm very much interested, and I definitely want to like to see because I don't want to experience what I felt all my life.
Yeah.
To have to look this way and see somebody looking at you just because you're black.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk down to you just because you're black.
Yeah.
Not serve you the right way. They may be
Well, a lot of
sweet,
times, and a lot of
you know.
times, Vince, people are intimidated by
Mm,
the uh maybe the gift that a person has,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the expression of that, and how impactful. Like people are not expecting us to show up like we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so
right.
when we show up in our full genius of who we are, there are some people that are very intimidated by the fact that we embody such genius about
Yeah.
whatever it is that we're involved in. So
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine, and I can only imagine her work. I can just feel that she has a extreme passion and
Yeah.
knowledge about what she does, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that
Yeah.
can show up as an intimidating factor to people that have a entitlement mentality, that they
Mm-hmm.
feel like that they should
Mm-hmm.
be that,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Yeah.
not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I get that, and I'm sure you've experienced those
Yes.
things.
Yes. I mean, the way I describe it to people is that, when my colleagues went to school, you know, based on the people that were in class with them, that they grew up with, I was a factor that they did not account for.
Whoa.
Mm,
And then
mm,
all of a sudden, you get
Whoa.
into corporate and you're working, and the higher you go, the positions get fewer and fewer. And now I have
Wow.
to fight for this with who? Like, where did
Wow.
she come from? And
Wow.
instead of, most people would just like recall and be like, there's not room for all of this. Because I've had people tell me,
mm,
that I can't believe you've done this much. You earn too
Wow.
much. You
Wow.
mm, mm.
too.
Wow.
And I'm a hard worker, and I know that every single thing I got, I earned it. If
And
it was
see,
going to take somebody 2 steps to earn it, it probably took me 15, because that's how hard you have to work for people to finally acknowledge that you're
that's
doing so
funny you said
awesome.
that. Me and Adaeze, we talked off the air, John, and when I explained to her, our platform, and when people see sometimes, and I have to let them know, like, we do this, everything that you see, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, initially, it's a shock, I think, and then it's like, wow. But then it's just like, y'all got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It may take a second, but experiencing this, so we all experience it. So, and it's a tragedy that we have to go through. Like you said, we have to go through this, but we're going to power through it. We're definitely going to see our dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to touch more based off of the education side. Now, you are teaching this to young women, nationwide. And how does that work? How does that look?
So my focus again is keeping women in STEM careers in STEM careers.
Instant. Okay.
But there are not enough programs. I'm just going to start with that. There are programs to get girls into STEM.
Okay.
They're not enough. They're not nearly enough, though.
Mm,
Yeah.
However, when they get into STEM and get into corporate and start working, there's not a whole lot to keep them there,
mm,
to help
Mm,
them navigate their careers, to help them stay for as long as they want to. I mean, there's statistics that 50% of women in STEM leave their careers by year 5 or something to that effect. And I understand it perfectly, because it is so hard
mm,
to stay. And I want people to have that option. I don't want people to be pushed out. So what I do in my program is, in my organization, is to give people all the tools that they need there, because I realize that when you want something and people are trying to keep you where you are or keep you stuck, they start coming up
mm,
with all sorts of reasons why you can't get into certain positions. Or you have this gap, go fill it. Or you're missing this, you're not yet ready. So how can you get ready long before you need to be ready, so that when that time comes, you're like, okay, here are my receipts, I'm ready. And then the other
mm,
thing too is, information and access are a huge deal. You don't know what you don't know. So
mhm,
having an organization like mine, with a community like mine, where, again, like I said, if you go to companies, you can find one off, but if we all come together, then all of a sudden you have this huge community of people like you doing the things that you're doing that you can learn from and be aware of what's out there, what's possible, what you can think about. And then the third part being that you can get supported and given the opportunity to be able to access certain things that normally you wouldn't, just because you're isolated and you don't have a lot of information. So that's fundamentally what we do in our organization, yeah.
For those tuning in, you definitely want to check out the website, AfricanWomenInSTEM.com. Listen, this is they have a beautiful site. They also talk about the core values, community empowerment, freedom, legacy. You can also join and, listen, help this grow. And like she's explaining, we don't have anything like this. I've never seen anything like this in my 50 years. I'm not sure. John, have you?
Well, I have. Well, let me say this. I think the different expressions of STEM are very unique. So I haven't seen this one quite like this, but I've seen a STEM program that runs off of AI, and it's catered toward children. And so they do it from that particular perspective. But I love the diversity of thought around STEM and how you can make it applicable to the various needs and things that are in our community and the extended community. And I like how it can bring us together.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? I love that, because my thing is that I've always desired to have communication with my brothers and sisters in Africa and other countries. I've always desired that. I really have, because I think there's been such a divide between us and our brothers and sisters in Africa. And I think STEM and the kind the style and of STEM that she's able to bring has a great potential to do that, to bring us closer together. And so I've seen it done in different ways, but I really love what you are doing. This is really, really nice. And I think we need to spread the news, Vince. We need to spread this news, because this is back on. And I know my wife would love this. Whitney would love something like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Dr. William. My wife is.
I want to meet her.
She's a doctor in education, and she's always, on the cutting edge of all kind of stuff. So she would love to meet you and love to really see what you are actually doing, because there is a young lady that is and I can't think of part of Africa she's from, but I met her and she came to actually my program, and she has a style of STEM that is catered toward children. And so I just love the diversity of it. And I think my wife would really, really love this, because this is needed. It really is. And I can't wait for her to meet you as well.
Thank you.
That's your question too. Do you I know you said in the workplace, I know there's not enough women of color inside of STEM, but how about on the men's side? Do you see men, men of color?
Well, again, I went to college in Nigeria, so in the class of 120, there were only 5 girls. But here, I'm gonna say, men of color, not so much. At least in my industry, I worked in the energy industry, and I'm not sure why. And the thing is that most people that I see in my industry, especially, are probably from Africa, just because oil and gas is a huge deal in Africa. So most people that come here to go to grad school, they're probably going to study something energy related. So that's why there are higher chances of me finding another African in the energy industry in the United States. But then again, it's also a one-off kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, like with my organization, what I do, because I also host a live, like called Launch with Leaders, because I believe that my primary focus is to build this community of women.
Yes.
But then I also know that we don't live in isolation. We can't do it without other people. No, so it's an opportunity for me to have conversations and then have other people that are allies, advocates, peers, be a part of that conversation too. So it's open to people in STEM or not in STEM,
Yeah.
And the topics I do want to elevate and train African women in STEM and women in STEM, but then again, the topics are usually something that anybody can learn from, and I do bring experts, and I want them to focus on what they're really good at. And so it's an opportunity to open up that conversation for other people to see and begin to be more comfortable around us, and realize that we're interested in the same things. We can have the same conversations. We can work together. We can collaborate with each other.
Definitely.
So that's another thing that I do, and it's also very important to me, because the truth is, the more we realize how similar we are, the better, because that means that we progress faster together.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No doubt.
I believe it, and I believe that we need to take our talents, right to Africa as well, and share and grow. And connect that gap. One of the things I wanted to ask you was jobs. What type of jobs can STEM bring?
Oh my goodness. That's another reason why I started African Women in STEM, okay? Because I'm going to give you an example, like coming from Nigeria, Africa, most times you focus on what is the main moneymaker in your country. So if it's some countries is mining, but generally it's energy, or it could be health. So being a doctor or those kind of things. But like I said, I'm a very curious person. So sometimes I'm like, I just want to know what's out there. So there was a time I went on this thing where I started listening to STEM podcasts by other people. And then I'm finding, because I know my dad is a professor. So he basically, when I was thinking of what to study, he's like, if you study mechanical engineering, you can work in any industry in the world. So I was like, I know that this is not the only thing that's available. But then again, I don't know what I don't know. So now I'm finding out that people are working in industries that I never imagined. So for example, when I think of the beauty industry, I just think of just cosmetics and whatever I see on TV.
Oh.
But then I met this, well, I didn't meet her. I heard on a podcast, this lady, she studied chemical engineering and she's working in one of the top, beauty. And of course, and I think about it, I was like, it makes sense. Of course, they produce all these things. There's a lot of research that goes behind it. So you have all these scientists in the lab, but guess what? None of them look like me. Because people that look like me, they think beauty, they don't even think that. They don't think that as an engineer, I can go into those L'Oreal or whatever and work there, or I can be a research scientist there, or so many other things. So my goal is to also expose people to what's possible. You can literally work in any industry.
Let me name some things, and you tell me yes or no.
Okay.
Cosmetics.
Yes.
Health drinks.
Yes.
Okay. Sneakers.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Clothing, textile.
Oh yes.
Okay, so we're on the right path. You got any questions you want to ask, John? Because I was about STEM. STEM is interesting. I mean, let me ask you a question. What we do, is that considered STEM?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because if you think about it, it depends on how you approach it, right? So you're not working without tech. So you can set up your company to be a tech company, or you can set up your company to be a production company. It depends on how you want to look at it.
Okay.
So your focus is what will determine what it is. But at the end of the day, you end up not being divorced from STEM, because you cannot do your job without equipment and so on and so forth.
Wow. Yes.
Well, Vince, you know what? When I think about like the drones, you do in the sky, like when you're filming different things, when we're doing that is that a part of STEM? Is that can see that?
Well, you're utilizing STEM products, but the thing is that right now it's very difficult to separate things from STEM. Let me give you an example. So I have this a man that he restores art.
Right.
Okay.
Before, it used to be like a program under art, because say, for example, all these old paintings, they deteriorate, you have to restore it and things like that. But he's saying that there's so much science in it that the programs in school for those things are literally all sciences.
Wow.
Because now you're using technology that never existed before to make it, better, faster, easier, higher definition, all of that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do the same thing now, you literally cannot divorce yourself from STEM, because of just the way the world is changing.
Yeah.
and how we're using things. So again, if you now start a company that does that, depending on how you approach it, it could be
Mhm.
STEM or it could be art,
Mm.
Wow.
utilizing STEM.
Yeah, this is so good because I think that we really have to really broaden our horizons around what is possible for us. What are some of the things that we can do, and really go on a journey of discovery of
Mhm.
like how can we apply this to really maximize whatever it is that we desire to do. So
Mhm.
have you ever presented what you do at a church or anything like that in the States?
Why did you pick a church? I'm just kidding.
Mhm.
I was like, why did you pick a church? Oh, not a church, but definitely I'm looking forward to doing that. Um,
But
uh,
when I think about
what
that, I
I
just think
usually
about,
around women because I'm very partial to women. I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's
because
not
the
my
church is
fault.
full of women.
Mhm.
The church is full of women, and to be honest, we need to be having some of these conversations as well in those
Okay.
spaces
Okay.
where it seems that okay, well, we talk about the kingdom. I have a lady that I was on her podcast. She's an author, and then she also helps people write books, right? But
Okay.
Mhm.
she approaches it from a faith based perspective.
Mhm.
And I'm
Okay.
realizing, yeah, that you're a person of faith or you go to church doesn't mean that you cannot find a way to marry life and your faith.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no doubt.
No
So
doubt.
The Bible speaks about that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, you work hard and you pray hard, put them all together, and it makes something fantastic. So definitely yes. And the reason I'm saying that is because of what I'm noticing sometimes is when somebody is a person of faith, they hold themselves back from expressing themselves fully and reaching the highest potential because they feel that if they do that,
Hmm.
then they're selling out. They can't really be
Well,
Yeah.
faith.
I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times they don't understand what they're reading
Hmm.
and how it applies to everyday life. The Bible tells you, the wonders. I mean, man will become smarter than every day and
Hmm.
every year, like year
Hmm.
by year. The Bible tells you that.
Hmm.
So the knowledge he gave us for a reason, so we can advance.
Hmm.
That's right.
Uh, as long as we're using it in the proper way.
Yes.
So and one of the things I wanted to ask you, as far if a young person who is coming out of high school or leaving college or entering college, they're looking to get into STEM, what is the likelihood of them having a job once they graduate? And a job that is suffice to take care of their family or purchase a home, because sometimes a lot of jobs they don't pay much. Now, is STEM one of the I guess the areas of jobs, and like you said, it's so broad.
Hmm.
What does
Mhm.
that even mean? Um, what do you think about that?
I'm going to say in general, doing any of the STEM programs, being in sciences or tech or engineering or so on and so forth. In general, they're more likely than not pay you well. But what I
Okay.
want you to consider is that the workplace is changing and it's changing very fast. Gone are the days
Mhm.
when you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be this thing. And you say that when you're two, and 20 years later, it still stays the same, and you can just step into that one thing and do it.
Mhm.
Right now, there's some careers that exist today that didn't exist 2 years ago. There's
Wow.
some careers that exist today that will not exist next year. So
Wow.
the thing I'm going to say to someone that is thinking about getting into STEM or anything in particular, yeah, anything at all, but STEM in particular, is that you have to just be open to not just learning the one thing for that thing that you think you're going to get, but knowing it enough that you can figure out a way to make a living regardless of where the tide goes. So I
Mm.
keep saying, if I have to do it again, I'm a mechanical engineer, I will study mechanical engineering again. Now, the way I approach my career will be very different because I feel like that gave me a really good background that I can literally do anything and be
Mm.
anything. Because it's
Mm.
about learning, allowing your mind to expand, and then taking that and seeing how you can apply it to whatever it is that is going on in the industry at that particular point in time. So just be open to knowing that I'm going into this program, it's an opportunity to create this person that can make so much more out of their life when they come out of this.
Mm.
And staying aware, continuously learning, and finding out where you can fit yourself in long before you need to, in a sense.
Yeah. And that's an
Let me ask you a
approach
question.
that I wanted to say, Vince, that's an approach that
Hmm.
I think everybody should really take in wanting to better their life and become a better version of themselves. That
Mhm.
they think like that. That's very
Mhm.
important. You know,
Hmm.
Vince and I work with kids, and we you know that's what we share with them daily. You know what I mean? And I think that we need to, as parents, as adults, as professionals, we need to approach life like that every day. So, sis, you absolutely right.
Mhm. Thank you.
Let me ask you another question. Afar from America, what are your thoughts about China and India?
In
China
terms
and
of
India,
STEM,
because they lead the world in
mhm.
STEM production. And I mean, from what I'm seeing, I constantly see online, they constantly contact me all day about different things. There's always coming from India or China. What are your thoughts about them and dealing with Africa? There is a lot of projects that are being developed by China
Mhm.
um, in exchange for resources coming from Africa.
Mhm.
From Nigeria, the Congo, all over. You see Chinese projects, building highways, construction. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the interesting thing is colonialism has actually created
Yes,
something that it's
yes,
probably going to take hundreds and hundreds of years to get away from that.
yes.
Mm,
Because I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of Africans in the United States, in Canada, in UK. Think about, I think Calendly and a bunch of other companies that are people are doing exceptionally well. They're good at what they do. They're great at what they do. They're
mhm,
innovators. They have all this cutting edge technology. But the thing is that when they go back to Africa to try to apply those things, then their talent is not appreciated. There's this
Ah,
thing about thinking that, for lack of a better word, the white man, being
mhm,
European, once upon a time used to be Europe. Like for example, in Nigeria, they will hire. They will just believe that simply because it's a European company that they definitely will do a better job than say an African company. It's not
mm,
right or wrong, but it can be 100% of the time. So
mm,
what it does is that it doesn't even give opportunity to other people to see what they have to offer. It's just an assumption that they make and just go with it.
yeah.
Now, for Africa, Europe has kind of moved to the side and China is taking over. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. There are a lot of people that are talented, that are doing incredible things in Europe, in America, and all of that. But if they bring that talent back to Nigeria, they will hire the Chinese company first before they do them.
Wow.
Again,
Yeah.
whether it's subconscious or not, that's just the way it is.
mm,
China, what I would appreciate one about China, which is that they basically decided that we're going to be self-sufficient. I heard they have their own version of all sorts of social media platforms. My brother used to go there for work a lot, and they're way advanced in a lot of things. When it comes to payment and some certain things that take up our time and energy here, they're light years ahead.
mm,
I want us to in Africa to take that and try to be that self-sufficient.
Yes.
yeah.
India too, because I remember years ago, I probably was still in Nigeria. If I'm wrong, someone please forgive me. But I think the president of India said something about that they're going to stop importing certain things because they want them to be produced locally.
Mm,
They made that decision and they went ahead with it. And all of a sudden now India is exporting all those things. We
Mm,
need that in Africa as well.
yeah.
We need to tap into the resources that we have because there are a lot of smart people that are just leaving like
We hold the resources.
tomorrow, right? And then now you're bringing in China to come and fill in the gap, and I'm like, but you just let your people go. Let your people take their talent
Yeah.
somewhere else. So I
Yes.
think it starts with having the kind of government structure in Africa that can support,
mhm,
this
yeah.
project, this technology. Because if it's hard for you to do your job, you're not going to do it. Something as
Yeah,
simple as have a company, I want to import something to produce whatever, and it gets stuck, you know, with customs for like 3 months for no reason, just because they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. You can't even compete with the rest of the world because already your cost has gone up 15x, 50x. You know, just because somebody thinks that, okay, if you can afford to import this, you should be able to afford to take care of everything they need, and I'm going to keep this here until just to show you that I have the power. Things like that.
what's funny? It's so similar to what we have here. We can be our worst enemy, and we can also get out of our way, from that enemy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It sounds so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The blacks in the United States, and also Africans over in Africa, man. It's just
Mm-hmm.
and time again we're being misused. You can see it globally.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
can see
Yeah.
it.
There's a there is a great progression of China that has infiltrated Africa, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Um, and I always, when I looked at that, I'm just in my head. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I sit back and
I
watch
said,
it.
and I'm like, man, how did we let that happen?
It's
And
just,
it's like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing all these things on different podcasts of, it's like they set up shop there. Like,
Yeah, they had.
they got like, the police, a police station there. I mean, they've set up shop like this is like I'm taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, this is
Yeah.
and it's like we have to I mean, come on, man. And it feels, I mean, it's like, what are we doing? I mean, why can't we come together and just, like, hey, this is ours, man. Like this, like, you know what I mean? Like
You know,
could we go there and do that?
no, you cannot.
That's what I'm saying.
And they are very racist in China.
So
Very.
it's almost like all over the world, they can come to Africa, but we can't go there and set up shop.
No, you cannot. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's like,
Well, we allow it, and not by we. I don't mean we, the ordinary
government,
people. It's
the
the, it's
power
the leader. It's
structure.
the leadership that we have.
because they're getting paid
The
too.
power structure allows it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting paid.
Yeah.
You see, you see their homes, and and they're driving cars, and
Uh,
come on now.
and that just hurts me. It just hurts me to my heart. And you know what? We have there's one of the entertainers. What is his name, Vince? The brother that's an entertainer that's from Africa, and he set up a lot of like lights in different places.
Oh yeah, the musician.
I can't think
Is
of his name. And
yeah.
they did a story on him, and one of the things he said is that, listen, guys, we can do this in Africa. Like you can bring your talent to Africa. Like this is the place that whatever you're doing, we can do that here. And he's really pushed for that for a long time, and he's tried to bring like Ice Cube. Ice Cube had this 3-on-3 deal. He said, "Yo, why?" His thing was, why are you trying to get these people to buy into what you're doing? You can have your own league in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. And it's us, we have to really begin to change our mindset and think better of ourselves than what we are, because we keep ourselves pigeonholed and in this place of just, we settle. We don't really, move the needle or push the needle in different areas. And it keeps us in a very stagnant place. And we never really come into the fullness of who we are and what we can possess and what is possible for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what needs to happen. And it seems like when any other race does it, it's okay. But when we stand up and want to own our own and beat our drum like this is ours, then it seems like it's a problem. And we have to really change that narrative. So sis, I celebrate you and all that you're doing, and whatever we can do. I want to push it and on the just as on the platform, we want to push this conversation, and we want to keep this conversation going. In many places as we can, because it's needed, and we have to definitely support our own.
Yeah.
We gotta and we gotta be unapologetic about that. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you win. I want to see you go to the top. And so we gotta champion that.
Yeah.
And so, man,
you know what? How do you manage? I mean, I'm about to ask you day to day. I know you're your wife, your mother. How and also your engineer. How does that? You at home. Hey, let me fix this. I got it. I'm just curious. How does that work for you?
Oh, the interesting thing is, okay, I have this trait where I believe everything is figure outable, period. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. And one thing it did for me, I mean, I always figure things out. I do stuff. I figure out how to make it work. But I think when it impacted me the most, or when I became a mom, I don't think I understood what it meant to be a mom, and how much more responsibility that was. So I was still going at the same, I got it all. And it just became a little overwhelming. So the last several years in my life, I'm learning how to live. I call it living fully, and figuring out a way to make everything in my life work. So what that looks like is that I don't have to have 100% of everything going at every single time, but my kids are important because they're going to grow up and leave the house really soon. My job is important because I love what I do, and I really want to be able to be the best that I can. And all this is in my life are important. So it's just realizing that they can all be important to me, and then figuring out day to day, how do I manage this and make it work? It takes a lot, but I learned to be okay with, if I don't do the 25,000 things on my list, not to beat myself up. That's the only thing that I learned. That was one big thing that I learned that helped me a lot, because I'm like, I have to achieve all these things. I mean, I can. I mean, why can't I? So but the thing is, if I set out to do these things, and if I'm only able to do one, I celebrate that one thing and I'm happy, and I move on. I'm like, tomorrow, let's think of something more. And then I learn not to have 21,000 things on my list. Bring it down. I'll end up doing 21,000 things, but can we start in a way that is
do your kids want to be? I mean, do your kids, did they earn to be into STEM, or did they have their own path?
My son wants to be a soccer player. My daughter wants to be a musician. but my daughter wants to work in it's so funny. She wants to work in my business. And it's interesting because when I said African women in STEM, I was still like, I don't know. And let me just, I started small, and I had this community.
That's important. That's very important.
I didn't really talk about it so much. My husband talked about it more. She does this, she does that. And my daughter, Mom is the founder of African Women in STEM. Seeing it through her eyes was so exciting, because she was really excited for me. And she was like, I want to work with you. I want to work for you. What can I do? Can I be your camera assistant? Can I be this? Can I be that? I'm holding an event this weekend, and I told her she's going to be there with me, and she's so excited. Because she wants to be a part of this. And that really helped me, step into, because entrepreneurship is not something that I'm used to. But seeing how proud of me my kids were, and how much they wanted me to succeed, just made it so much easier. So I'll just say, I don't know, they've been a huge help in this.
Where's your event at?
It's in Newark, New Jersey. It's Empower Her Brunch. My first in-person event.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's more like a networking. Basically, the whole thing is how can you elevate your career through network and community.
Through network. We'll get that out to our audience as well. I got a funny question. Listen, as the engineer, and I always wondered, what do y'all eat? Make you smart.
Ew.
That's crazy.
Because I'm saying they're so intelligent. It has to be in the food. Let us know. I'll write this down, because I need to.
Okay, listen. You have to have a really long notebook, because I eat literally everything. Okay, so I'm a foodie, and that's another thing too. Like that's one part of me that most people don't know, but I love playing with food. Like when I say playing with food, like when I cook, it's for me it's fun. Like what can I do with all these ingredients? I can't cook the same thing twice. It doesn't happen. Okay, I'm sorry because every single time I'm just like I go in there and I experiment with food and it gives me so much joy. So what do
So
we
you're in
do?
the kitchen,
For
yeah.
me, everything, everything.
Do you write things down? Well, let me see. We'll try this. We'll try that.
I don't write things down, so that's another. I'm actually that creative side of me is one thing that I absolutely adore because, like, my dad is an engineer, but he's a writer. You
Whoa.
know, yeah.
Okay.
So I've that creative side of me have always been there. My mom studied clothing and textile. I design, I sew, like I do all those things. I actually made my dress when I got married. So I expressed all these things, and I think it actually made me a better engineer, so to speak. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. You said your mom. She actually.
She's a professor too, and she teaches clothing and textile. Yeah.
Oh wow.
hmm
Wow.
And they're
I learned,
located.
I learned that from her, and I started
I'm
doing
sure,
pattern
yeah.
designing. I design patterns. I make clothes.
So they're in Nigeria.
Yes, they're both in Nigeria, but they're retired now. Yes.
Well, you need to speak to them. I need to come over there and tell them I'm coming next week.
Okay.
Get out of here. I want to get out here ASAP.
Well, you know what?
No.
You know what? Before we leave, I wanted to share. She's like a sister of mine. Her name is Sandy, and they named her in Africa Alfie Williams, and she has a all girls school.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's in Nigeria. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but she's she's always telling me to come over there, come speak to the kids, all that kind of stuff. And my pastor actually just came back from Africa as well. I can't think of the area that they were in, but they just got back last week. But that's something I definitely,
If they invite
all
you,
these
go.
signs,
Go,
all
'cause-
these signs, having a conversation with you, talking to other people, and and my pastor and I'm just coming back. It's like, man, we gotta go. We got Vince, we gotta go, man. We gotta go to Africa.
Yeah. If you have
And what's
someone
the
to invite
largest,
you, go.
the biggest city? What's the large city there? I know Abuja.
You mean in Nigeria?
Yes.
I would say Lagos, just because they
Lagos
pretty
is
much
okay.
almost took up the entire state and made it almost like a city. I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's we say Lagos, it's actually a state, but somehow they've managed to make the state feel like it's city.
Oh, so
The entire
Lagos is
state feels
not
like
a city?
Yeah,
So
there's
Lagos
Lagos,
is
there's
a
Lagos Island. There's a city in
Wow.
Lagos, but Lagos itself is an entire state.
Wow.
Yes, but it feels like a city because
Oh,
people
yeah.
live on the mainland, work on the island. You can go from one part to the other. There's all this intermingling and all of that, and everywhere is
I
literally
would
very
love to go.
urban.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But a lot of people, Vince, don't think that Africa has cities and
What?
streets.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Big
that think
cities.
that.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
Some
I'm
of the biggest
telling
cities
you.
in the world.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. They got some of the biggest. I mean,
Well, that's important. That's why it's important that and we had this conversation before or earlier. Reading. You have to read, and it's important. And our kids have been stymied by entertainment. Entertainment, and don't know. They couldn't tell you the capital city in the state they live in,
yeah, exactly.
but they can tell you,
The rappers and the basketball players and all that.
So that's a danger to our culture as well.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Because you can't. There's no way to have any foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you're building is a foundation. Listen, we're going to get this thing out there. We love it, man. We're going to get
Thank
this
you.
thing, as much as possible. And now you said you have an event coming up. Can you say that one more time for the people who are listening in the Philadelphia area?
So this Saturday, September 21st, 2024, we have the Empower Hub brunch. It's a networking event for women in STEM. African Women in STEM is hosting it, and I have different women coming there in STEM or not. But the main thing is to bring us together because we want to be able to elevate our careers through networking and community building. So it's going to be Newark, New Jersey, starts at 10 a.m. this Saturday, September 21st.
21st. Okay, and I
And
believe
the information is On my website, African Women in STEM, it's also on LinkedIn and yeah.
This is it right here, the
Yes,
Empowerment Her
exactly.
Brunch. So if you're tuning in, just click on here. You'll see the flyer and information 921. And what time is that? So that was at
It's at 10
10 a.m.
a.m. on
At 10
Saturday.
a.m.
Yeah.
So 51 Newark Street, Newark, New Jersey, 170-103. And the event also, so is it $65? Okay. And that's pretty cheap. I mean, all the information you're going to get, and I guess you have
Oh
a code.
yeah, I know it's gonna be powerful. Yeah, I know it is, man.
Who's that?
Well, since we gonna be
Ofuli-
praying for that, and we know that God is gonna do an amazing thing in your life there, and I'm excited about it. I can't wait to hear about the results.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I
Yeah.
mean, I love it when we can get together and elevate the lives
Oh
in
yeah.
general. Yeah.
And so we want to also thank you for coming on. We're going to definitely put out the information today when we post this. Tom, anything we want to say? I appreciate you coming on, listen, taking time. And actually, you know, it's crazy. I was searching through, throughout the StreamYard and YouTube, and I contacted you.
Oh, really?
I said we got to get you on. I said we got to get her on.
Yeah.
And I reached out to you, and so she got right back. And it's needed like that. We need to do that. So
absolutely,
thank you.
no doubt.
This was absolutely amazing. I had an incredible time hanging out with both of you, and I'd love to meet your wife. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no,
yeah.
No doubt. She loves.
Hey.
Oh man, I'm gonna let her see that. I want her to see this interview too.
Hey, and maybe y'all can do some cooking classes or something together.
Yeah.
Yeah, Whitney loves
going to talk about food somewhere sometime soon. I'm like, how did I get myself into this? But it's one of my passion topics. So yeah.
Okay, then we appreciate it. John, take us out. And everybody that's tuning in, listen up. We'll be back again next week also. And let me just give him also a shout out for if you want to donate
to the HBCU original cause. Help out our broadcast to continue to get out quality info to the viewers.
Well, to all the college students and college professors and everybody that is watching this program, listen, you heard so much awesome information today. And one of the things that I want us to walk away from is that the only limits that we have is the ones that we put on ourselves. And I don't want us to ever limit, the possibilities for what God has for us. And so I need you to do two things before we leave. I need you to work like it depends on you, but pray like it depends on God, because it does. Listen, God bless you. Let's go, Vince.
Peace.